Welcome back to Creating Dementia Solutions. Richard Pyatt here. Glad you found us. In fact, you may be seeing us on Access Vision, maybe YouTube, the Miles for Memories channel there. Maybe you're listening as a podcast. Either way, in any case, we're glad you did. We'd like to make sure you're aware when these episodes come available, so go look for Miles for Memories on Facebook and click the like there, and you'll see these pop up when they become available along that feed. Lots of good information there too. Might also recommend the milesformemories.org website, where there's a lot of information there, resources, not to mention technology, some awesome technology that's been developed under the auspices of Miles for Memory. So have a look. We've been talking this year about the Lancet Commission list of factors that could help us mitigate our risk for dementia. We've talked about a number of them over the year in 2025. And if this is the first time you're hearing us talk about this, go back and have a look at some of those other episodes because there's some terrific information there. We're back with Jennifer Dillon and Kira Jones with Summit Point. We've talked in our last episode about what excessive drinking means, and that's one of those factors on that Lancet list, addressing excessive drinking. This time we're going to talk a little bit about what do you do now if you've come to believe that excessive drinking is a factor. Welcome back.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Jennifer is a recovery coach. Kira is an outpatient clinician with Summit Point, our community mental health here in Calhoun County. So we now understand what excessive means when it comes to drinking. And if we've decided maybe excessive applies to me,
Yeah.
what do we do now? Either one of you.
So go to a meeting, just go ahead.
You're okay. Yeah, I mean, it's about getting curious, right? If you overly shame yourself, if you make this realization, that isn't necessarily helpful, right? Like nobody got sober from overly shaming themselves. If anything, that perpetuates the cycle.
Sure.
So like getting curious, you don't necessarily have to put a label on it at that point. You just need to ask yourself some better questions.
Such as,
instead of saying, what's wrong with me, right? You could say, what is this doing for me?
Yeah.
What am I missing that this is filling? How am I trying to replace something? Or just getting curious and paying attention to maybe your motivations for that.
What's this doing for me? Is that a game changer with folks when they hear that? What's this doing for me?
So I always, when I have people that are still in active addiction and aren't sure yet, because I do get a lot of people that come in and they're just sent there for specific reasons. My boyfriend told me to go, my wife told me to go. So I always ask, is this something that you want to do? And then we always make a list of the benefits of drinking, because obviously they are. We wouldn't do it, right? Makes us feel better, it makes us funnier, it makes us more social, it helps us relax, it helps us clean the house, whatever. And then we make a list of the cons, like what is this taking from us? And then I just kind of have them do it so they can see in their own words, what is this doing for me,
Well, and that's an interesting point, because someone might jump to the pro side of that list when they get asked that question. What's this doing for me? What's helping me relax?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So we may not be seeing the other side of that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Is that true?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. And that's why what you're speaking on is a cost-benefit analysis, right? So because there's always a benefit, like she said, we wouldn't engage in it if there wasn't something it was providing to us, right?
Yes.
And then listing what it's costing you, right? That could be financial, health, relational, a number of things, and seeing what outweighs what. Mm-hmm. But like alcohol's always doing some type of job, right? Mm-hmm. And it could be, like she said, quieting anxiety or numbing grief or giving you confidence.
Yeah.
Sure.
But once you name the job, you can find a healthier employee for that job.
Yeah.
Once you just have to meet that need in a different way. but that starts with getting curious.
Yes.
There's a,
like that.
if you can name it, you can tame it. So if you can figure out, exactly what's going on, and it takes, like we were talking about earlier, self-awareness,
Yes.
really digging in there. But once you can, say, well, this is it, then I can say, okay, well, what can I do instead of,
Yeah.
And I would say that's probably a really good starting point on if you're not sure if you have a problem or not, and then if you say, okay, I see this and I want to do this instead, but somehow you just keep going here, that might be a time for you to reach out to somebody. There's numbers you can call, so you don't have to see anyone face to face. You can go to groups, and AA is anonymous. There's so many different things. It takes people a really long time sometimes to the point where they know they have an issue to where they say, yes, I'm an alcoholic. It takes time.
It's time to take action.
Yeah.
I want to talk about this shame thing too. Kira, is that one of the biggest hurdles? Is not only am I beating myself up about this, but people might look at me differently if I accept that I have a problem, and that's keeping them from doing so. Is that fair?
Absolutely. Yeah. It's keeps us stuck in this cycle, right? Because shame is very different from guilt. Guilt is like this, we need some guilt, right? To kind of flag when maybe we're not making the best choices. But shame says, I am a problem. Like there is something deficient. And when we shame other people, that's also saying you're the problem, instead of really finding out what those underlying factors are. And so then people hide it, right? And they keep it low. And there's this saying, right? Our secrets keep us sick.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, so letting the secret out, maybe slowly, is a way to do that, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
How do you recommend that?
So, for me, in my early recovery, I was in rehab, so I had space, safe spaces to do that. So,
I see.
Then I could just start talking about all of the things that led to my, addiction. Not everyone has like a immediate place where they feel safe to do that. So just starting therapy where you can connect with your therapist, and that's a safe place. Just having safe places where you don't feel judged at all, that is healing in itself.
That judgment thing,
Yeah.
Yeah.
that's tough.
Yeah.
It is.
I know people that said they went years knowing they had a problem but didn't want to go to AA because everyone knew them in town, and they didn't want, so they suffered in their addiction because they were so worried about what people would say with them walking in and out of that AA meeting.
Or walking in and seeing somebody they knew,
Yes.
somebody they knew passing outside. Or,
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
yeah, that's a big thing. There's something called replace the ritual. What does that mean?
Replacing the ritual is, so drinking in and of itself can be a ritual, right? So sometimes it's the sound or the glass that it's in. So sometimes you have to like change it up. I know for myself, I'm also a person in recovery. I'm being a clinician, and I love live music. And part of that was having a drink in my hand. And so to feel safe in that space was, I still had something in my hand, but it was water, or maybe not the healthiest alternative, like an energy drink, right? So like changing that ritual, having something different in your hand, and that retrains your brain on how you associate certain things, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
This is also, you just alluded to it, one of the difficulties of this, I think, is that drinking is very social, and it's part of our engagement strategy sometimes, isn't it?
It is.
So you're going to be around other people who are doing it while you're trying not to.
Yeah.
This complicates it, doesn't it?
It does. Yeah. So when people are early in their recovery, when they're doing things like Kira talked about, just you have the same rituals, so you're just replacing some of it anyway. So like just making sure if you go somewhere, you have an exit, like a safe exit. You know, things like that are super important in recovery because you can't just not be social anymore, you know, but you just want to make sure that wherever you're going, you either have someone you can call if you feel triggered, you can get in your car and leave, you know, things like that.
And make yourself feel as though it's okay to do that. It's okay to leave. Party's not over, but I'm out.
Yeah, absolutely. Makes you feel in control.
Yeah.
You know.
But planning for it ahead of time,
Yes.
right, is essential because you might get in that situation if you haven't had that forethought, right? Then you're going to be more susceptible and vulnerable to engaging and letting your guard down.
If you haven't come up with the plan,
Yes.
and in doing so, it gives you an okay to say, I could leave, I don't have to stay.
Yeah.
But thinking about that in advance makes it a lot more productive.
Yeah.
You know, Kara, I want to touch on something else. The idea that this social nature and the things to which you refer require a certain amount of awareness about ourselves. And the presumption is that if we've dealt with excessive drinking, we might know it's there, but we haven't allowed ourselves to be that self-aware. Now we're going to have to become self-aware. This is part of the journey, no?
Oh, very much. And it's ever evolving. Like,
Yeah.
when you first start in recovery, there's a level of awareness, but then you start, as long as you're open, learning more and more things about yourself, right? And these quintessential light bulbs start going off, right? And you're like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
And then you have
Realization.
to, and then so then you really have to, you almost have to recalibrate again. I mean, there is a lot of recalibrating that happens.
Absolutely is. There's,
You know?
I call it taking yourself out of the box. Like, you know, everyone, you have to put people in a box all the time. So, like, I have all of these things about me that, you know, aren't really me, but they are. You know, I'm a mom, but like, it's so deep. And until you start on that journey, and like Kara said, it can last forever getting to know yourself because you're constantly evolving. You know, what I believe 3 months ago, I might not believe today because maybe I was presented with new evidence, you know, that backs up something different. So it just takes a lot of willingness.
Well, and life doesn't stop lifing.
Yeah.
Just because we're in recovery, right? So new situations or pains or stresses or tragedies can come up, and you might have thought you had it all figured out, and then you're like, okay, well, I guess I need to look at some things.
Sure. But the notion is, well, I think there's some kind of expression about never stop learning or something. This is what you're doing. The education process is constantly going
Yes,
about yourself.
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
Well, here's the good news. You can rebound from this, clearly, right?
Yes, absolutely.
What does that mean? You can
So-
you can change your brain about these things.
You can. That takes a lot of time, and you have to be very intentional with that, you know, like just being a more positive person. That doesn't just happen overnight, just like being in recovery. It's like you have to make conscious choices every day to, you know, live a certain way if you want to be more positive. And that's just not for recovery from addiction. It can be for anything, you know. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, so our brain has this amazing ability. I think I named it before, neuroplasticity, right?
Yeah.
And so, like a computer that can be rewired, or our muscles, right? If we're trying to get more in shape, well, that takes some work and some consistency. I'm not going to just go lift 1 5-pound weight and all of a sudden, right, my body's where it needs to be.
I would look different if that happened.
I feel you, wouldn't we all, right? But the beautiful thing is the more consistent you are, this change in your brain starts to happen naturally. And
Yeah.
like within just 2 weeks of cutting back, your REM sleep starts repairing itself.
2 weeks.
2 weeks.
Wow.
Yep. Within a month, you can notice an ease in your anxiety because your nervous system is trying to recalibrate. Because alcohol is a nervous system depressant, and so it literally rewires not just your brain but your whole nervous system.
2
It can
weeks.
yeah.
Wow.
I mean, it can take longer, right?
Yes.
But that's like when we talk about guidelines and stuff. That's kind of a baseline. It can look different for everybody depending on
Yeah.
their life, but
How I like to tell people so they can have a visual is if there's a big field and it's winter all the time and you've walked the same path all the time, it's going to be easier to walk down it as opposed to this path where the snow's never been shoveled. But the neuroplasticity, the more you shovel it and you get a path going, you're going to start taking that just automatically eventually. It's just going to be where you go to.
Yeah.
Well, you've given us some things to think about, certainly, and it's always nice if we can leave on a positive note. I think we've just done that in saying you can rebound from this.
Absolutely.
And there's a lot of folks like the two of you who are ready to help. Probably should mention, by the way, the First Step, 175 College Street in Battle Creek. Walk in anytime, and they're ready to help. And this is one of the things that you could do in the zone of understanding that excessive drinking is something you can deal with. If you need help, they're there. Even if it's at 3 a.m, you can walk in at Summit Point at First Step and do that.
Yeah, I just want to say really quick,
Yeah.
there's always hope and nobody is ever too far gone. Ever. There's always hope to get your life back.
I can't think of anything to add to that.
No, I mean, that's perfect because hope is the key, and then it's okay to have other people hold that hope space for you until you're able to do it for yourself.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks so much for sharing all of this with us in this episode and the prior one. Jennifer Dillon, recovery coach; Kira Jones, outpatient clinician at Summit Point. Thank you.
Thank you so
you
much
for having us.
Creating Dementia Solutions, that's our show. And we've spent a lot of 2025, as I said before, talking about these Lancet commissioned factors on this list of things that could very well help mitigate our chances for dementia, and excessive drinking is one of them. So we hope you'll give this some thought and listen to some others or watch some other of our episodes that have addressed this issue as well. There's more to come. 2025 isn't quite over yet as we sit here, so we'll be bringing you more soon on Creating Dementia Solutions. Take care.